Protesters break down the barricades outside the California Republican Convention, trying to block GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
Frankly, if I wasn't going to win, I'd rather not get the nomination because the whole thing is about winning.
Trump's California tour also took him to Orange County. There were protests there as well. Also tonight, a new report on homelessness in San Diego and just how many people can't find space in a shelter. And video games are becoming a spectator sport. We'll preview a tournament coming to San Diego State this weekend. You're watching Evening Edition on KPBS. A rowdy protest outside the California Republican Convention tonight, all aimed at the GOP's presidential frontrunner, Donald Trump. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The protesters broke through barricades and threw eggs at police outside the hotel where Trump addressed the convention this afternoon. Trump's motorcade had to be rerouted to a back entrance. The candidate and his security detail had to walk between some freeway barriers to get into the hotel.
That was not the easiest entrance I've ever made. My wife called. She said, there are helicopters following you, and we did, and then we went under a fence and through a fence, and oh boy, I felt like I was crossing the border, actually.
Trump was able to avoid the protesters today. Convention goers will also hear from the other two GOP presidential candidates this weekend. Ohio Governor John Kasich is scheduled to speak tonight, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz will appear tomorrow. Trump was in Orange County last night speaking at a rally in Costa Mesa. He told the crowd that if he doesn't win the White House, his campaign is a waste of time, energy, and money.
If you tell me that I get the nomination and don't win, or if you tell me I don't get the nomination, frankly, if I wasn't going to win, I'd rather not get the nomination because the whole thing is about winning. And we can't make... And we have to take care of our country. We can't make the changes if I don't win.
Trump also said his supporters were once the silent majority, but are now the noisy majority. Costa Mesa police say they arrested about 20 people outside the rally last night. They say one man jumped on a police car and smashed its windows, and other protesters spray-painted graffiti. One Trump supporter got his face bloodied as he tried to leave the area. And we will have more election coverage coming up in just a few minutes. Voters across San Diego County will be asked in November to raise their own sales tax by 0.5%. The revenue from it would pay for transportation projects. The board of the San Diego Association of Governments moved the tax forward today. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
Public transit would get the biggest share of the revenue the tax increase would generate, about 42%. That's 3 times the share that would go to highways. But that wasn't enough to satisfy some environmental activists who oppose the highway projects altogether. 6 of the 21 SANDAG board members also opposed it. But San Diego City Councilman Todd Gloria says it's a good compromise.
It's going to give San Diegans a chance to weigh in on what they want their future to look like. From my perspective, it means more trolley lines, more bus lines, more bike lanes, and these are what my constituents want to see and will be possible if this measure is adopted in November.
Gloria and others stressed the need for giving some money to highways to make the tax more attractive to voters. SANDAG Executive Director Gary Gallegos says the measure tries to balance the county's diverse transportation needs.
You know, if you look around the region, that we're hopefully proposing the right kind of project in the right part of the region, and where transit's going to work best, there's a transit alternative. Where road improvement's going to work best, there's a road improvement.
Now, there are a few more steps to go before the tax officially goes on the ballot, but today's vote was a big hurdle. An even bigger hurdle, however, will be the November ballot itself. The tax will need 2/3 supermajority to pass. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A new report says San Diego County's homeless population decreased slightly over last year, but the number of people living outside of shelters without a bed to sleep in went up sharply. The report comes from the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. It shows nearly 8,700 people in San Diego County are homeless, living on the streets in cars or in shelters. And while the overall homeless population dropped by about 0.5% from last year, the tally of those without shelter, who are sleeping on park benches, under bridges, and in makeshift tents, increased nearly 20%. The numbers come from a head count taken in January by hundreds of volunteers who scoured the region by foot and car during pre-dawn hours. The Regional Task Force on the Homeless oversaw the effort.
I was disappointed in the number of the unsheltered. But I was very pleased. The silver lining in this is that we are seeing reductions where we've put the resources and the efforts.
Diaz says there was a 16% drop in veteran homelessness and significant declines in the number of unsheltered families and chronic homelessness. The results of the annual count are used to determine where to direct federal and state funds, as well as to identify strategies to alleviate homelessness. The longest sentence in the Navy bribery scandal we've been following was passed down today. A federal judge sentenced Navy Commander Michael Misevich to 78 months in prison for his role in trading classified ship schedules in exchange for services and goods from a Malaysian defense contractor. Misevich pleaded guilty in the case and was convicted on 1 count of conspiracy and 1 count of bribery. The California Highway Patrol swore in 78 new officers this morning at the state capitol. The CHP says this class reflects its efforts to recruit more women and ethnic minorities. The agency's been criticized for not being reflective of California's population. Today's graduates include a higher percentage of women than previous classes. We need to make a correction on an iNewsSource story that was broadcast last night on Evening Edition. It incorrectly said UC San Diego Medical Center was the only hospital in San Diego County with a cesarean section rate below the recommended national target. The rate at Scripps Mercy Hospital in San Diego was also below the target. Governor Jerry Brown has approved an additional $16 million to help California counties manage a surge of new voters for the June 7th primary. At least 600,000 people have registered to vote this year. Counties also have to verify thousands of signatures for initiatives trying to make the November ballot. The race for San Diego City Attorney is one of the most competitive in this election cycle, and the job is one that many voters don't understand. The city attorney prosecutes misdemeanors and gives legal advice to the city government. The office is often called the most important law firm in town. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a look at the 5 candidates seeking to take it over.
Do you know how many people are coming by tonight?
I do not have a final count, so probably about 20 people, which is manageable.
Mara Elliott is putting out some trays for a campaign event at her home in Scripps Ranch. Her dog, Lily Mae, eagerly follows her around. Once we sat down for an interview, more than once, this happened. Why don't you just start by introducing yourself?
Should we start over?
Elliott already works in the city attorney's office as a chief deputy. In the past, she's worked in education and public transit. Now she advises the city council's environment and audit committees and worked on the city's climate action plan. She says her experience is what sets her apart from her opponents.
And we're dealing with very complex issues. Charger Stadium, aging infrastructure, pension reform, police misconduct. You have to have some experience in everything, and I'm the only person in this race that has that.
At the end of the day, what you want is the most experienced attorney with a breadth of experience.
It's a similar refrain from candidate Gil Cabrera. He's a lawyer in private practice, advising small and mid-sized businesses. He also serves on the Convention Center board and was chairman of the city's Ethics Commission. He says his time there proves he can be truly independent.
You have to be able to speak truth to power. You have to have a history of actually doing that without concern for the outcomes of it, right? Sometimes you have to tell a mayor, council, and others that this is not a road you can go down because there's legal issues there, or it's illegal. That's the difference in terms of my experience versus really anybody else's at the table.
Cabrera also highlights his experience as a litigator, representing plaintiffs and defendants in civil and criminal cases. But candidate Rafael Castellanos says the city doesn't need a litigator.
Litigation is not a strategy for an organization to succeed. It's something you have to do because there's a dispute. But good planning, good strategic operations, good risk management, that's how organizations succeed, and that's the type of approach that the city attorney should have as a true general counsel for the city.
Castellanos is a land use and real estate attorney and a San Diego port commissioner. I met him at a park in National City that the port is trying to expand. He says the big issues facing the city, a Chargers stadium, convention center expansion, infrastructure, affordable housing, all those involve land use and real estate law, his area of expertise. A relative newcomer to the race is public interest and environmental lawyer Brian Pease. He's sued the city in the past on free speech rights and protecting the La Jolla seals, and sometimes he's won. And he's bold in saying he would go against the mayor and city council when he feels it's necessary. Pease, Castellanos, Cabrera, and Elliott are all Democrats.
Hi, I'm Robert Hickey. I'm a candidate for city attorney.
Hickey is the one Republican in the race. He's doing a bit of canvassing in southeastern San Diego when we catch up.
When I'm the city attorney, I'm going to make sure that this neighborhood's taken just as good a care of as La Jolla or Point Loma.
Hickey has prosecuted high-profile murder cases as part of the county district attorney's gang unit. He says that experience will be important as the city takes on more drug cases that state law has downgraded to misdemeanors. But beyond his legal experience, he says the most important quality he can bring to the office is leadership.
If you show your deputies, if you empower them, you'll get the best work you can out of your people. And if they know you have their back and you support them and you're their leader, you'll get better work out of them and create this environment where they'll appreciate their role. 5 candidates in the race means there's likely to be a November runoff between the top 2 vote-getters in the June 7th election. Go to kpbs.org for more on the candidates and their positions. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Some curveballs in the long presidential race, but what's going on in California? The statute of limitations has run out on part of the state's San Onofre prosecution, and the homeless who camp under an overpass in Sherman Heights find a bed of rocks. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
State fire officials are concerned that Californians may let down their guard when it comes to fire safety this year after an extraordinarily wet winter. There have already been about 600 wildfires so far this year. Fire experts say we shouldn't become complacent because of this year's El Niño rains.
It doesn't take much. We continue to have beautiful days where our temperatures are in the 70s. We get days where we're getting dry north winds. So that rainfall is great. We'll take every drop we can get, but it's really not enough, and it quickly, unfortunately, is evaporating.
Firefighters are especially concerned about millions of trees that are dead or dying because of the drought and because of an invasive bark beetle. They say those dead trees are prime kindling for more explosive wildfires this summer. And we may get a little more rain over the weekend. Steph Davis has that in our forecast.
Happy Friday, everyone. Shaping up to be not too bad of a day out there. Pretty seasonable for this time of year. You'll notice clouds thinning out across the west, allowing for peaks of sunshine, and that's been the case across Southern California as well. Taking a closer look around home, Borrego Springs towards Mount Laguna, all the way towards the coastline, looking good as we will remain dry heading into tonight. Temperature-wise, fairly seasonable for this time of year, so if you're heading out and about for your Friday night plans, nothing to worry about, at least when it comes to the weather. We'll fall back to 56 tonight in Borrego Springs with clear skies. A quiet night expected in Mount Laguna. Your overnight low is 37. Back to the 40s we go. Ramona and Alpine with clear skies. A quiet night expected in Oceanside. Your low is 51 degrees. 59 is your overnight low in San Diego itself. Now looking ahead to tomorrow as we kick off the weekend, we are going to see some wet weather arrive across much of the west and that will be the case in San Diego as well. We'll see some clouds, showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder possible for your Saturday, so definitely want to keep an eye to the sky if you're heading out to kick off your weekend. Here's a look at your 5-day outlook for the coast. A thunderstorm in spots for your Saturday. High temperature 66 degrees. We'll dry things out, though still clouds in place for Sunday. Your high is 70. Sunny and nice Monday and Tuesday as highs climb to the mid-70s at the coast. Mostly cloudy and 72 degrees for the midweek on Wednesday. Your 5-day outlook inland showing a similar weather pattern here. Unsettled for your Saturday. Showers, even a rumble of thunder possible in spots. Temperatures cooler with highs in the mid-60s. We'll climb to the 70s on Sunday with more clouds than sunshine to wrap up the weekend. Nice and sunny Monday and Tuesday as highs continue to rebound. Mostly cloudy and 72 degrees for your Wednesday inland. Looking at your 5-day outlook for the mountains, cooler with a shower or a thunderstorm on Saturday. Highs barely break out of the 40s. Still a chance for a rumble of thunder on Sunday. And then looking ahead to Monday and Tuesday, conditions improve, sunny and warmer, while climbing to the 70s, remaining in the low 70s for your midweek on Wednesday. Wrapping things up with your 5-day outlook for the deserts. A brief shower or two on Saturday. Highs at 79 degrees. Partial sunshine wrapping up the weekend Sunday as temperatures climb to the mid-80s. Mostly sunny and 88 Monday, and then we'll fly back into the 90s for Tuesday and Wednesday. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
Talk about a whale of a job. Actually, an adult gray whale to be exact. Crews have finally finished hauling away the 60,000-ton carcass of a rotting adult gray whale at Trestles Beach in San Clemente. The job took 2 days and cost about $30,000 to complete. Top layer of sand had to be skimmed off to get rid of the bodily fluids as well. The remains were trucked to a San Diego County landfill.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, we revisit the man currently exploring the world on foot. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
You may know the term fast fashion, trendy clothes made at a low cost and discarded as soon as styles change. 2 Cornell University professors are looking at ways to make the textile industry more sustainable, and they've invented something they call the fiberizer.
My name is Anil Netravalli.
My name is Tasha Lewis, and I'm an assistant professor.
Fiber science is my main area.
And I teach in the area of fashion design management.
Tasha has great expertise in the apparel design, and I come from the fiber science.
So when we decide to throw out a garment, get rid of it, what happens then?
What we're looking for as a complete system for utilization of the used apparel.
So once we use most of it as a garment, we might not be able to use like the parts here at the bottom that have some holes in them. This would probably end up getting shredded. Basically, to me, it's a fabric shredder. So it's like almost like your paper shredder, but it's a fabric shredder.
It's actually sort of is around in a different format.
But they're large industrial scale fiberizers, and they take everything and you just blend it. And it's a mix of things that are maybe used for carpet padding or something like that.
We don't have anything that is simple and small one.
We figure out how to do this for different fibers, different fabrics, we can really do something very specific.
The next one would take care of almost every fabric.
We want it to be more customizable by the company based on what they have in their inventory.
So the speeds will be controlled on that. The number of teeth will be different. The shape of this will be different.
The thickness of the fabric, if you're dealing with denim versus maybe something that's like a polyester or similar, or charmeuse or something that's a lot thinner. So maybe having different blades and being able to adjust based on the majority of the fiber that you're putting in there.
If we can manage it on one machine by controlling the speed and also interchangeable cutting wheels, then we should be able to handle everything on one machine.
higher level, we'd like to see if we can turn it into a composite, make it something more durable and usable for materials that are not necessarily considered apparel. So we were looking at home goods, for example. So if we can do a vase, if we can do something decorative. So that would be ideal, and where we could think of a whole product line just made out of reused textiles. Some of the other uses can also be geotextiles. Sometimes you can use them to pave roads based on the strength of the textile.
So we will always be looking at applications that would utilize the fibers in a value-added products.
To scale it up, companies like H&M, some of the retailers are starting their own take-back programs to take clothing back from consumers. And so that's why it's important to scale, because we just have large amounts of consumption, and we should have a way of managing that.
Then we will have to think about something that is about 4 times larger, and that can handle a ton a day. If there is a need for even larger one, we'll think about that as well.
We want to work in the industry, but we also want to think about ways to really improve it. We're definitely not there yet, but I love the idea that we're looking at it critically, and we're trying to think of applied solutions, not just, you're doing it wrong and we don't like it, change it. But we're saying, you're doing it wrong, we don't like it, and here's how you could change it.
Nine major shows and 2 world premieres will grace the stage of the Old Globe for the 2016-2017 season. The show schedule includes a stage adaptation of the film October Sky and the family favorite Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There will also be some Shakespeare, Measure for Measure, and The Two Gentlemen of Verona. You can find the full list of shows at theoldglobe.org. Tomorrow, San Diego State will play host to hundreds of gamers for Lan Diego State 5. KPBS arts and culture reporter Beth Accomando takes us to the LD Lounge for a look at San Diego's fighting game community.
This is Lan Diego Lounge, or as we like to call it, the San Diego fighting game community. Because we're not just, gamers, we're not just people who play games, we're a community.
Unlike Fight Club, the fighting game community is more than willing to talk about what they do. Paul Hoffman organizes fighting game tournaments at Lan Diego.
When the scene first started, I've been around for many years. It was definitely more grassroots. We would be having tournaments at people's houses. People are hauling around monitors, and now attendance has definitely gone up, especially with the advent of the internet. It's so much easier to connect with people. It's so much easier to disseminate information. And when you have something like Facebook to post events, attendance has skyrocketed.
As many as 60 people partake in LD Lounge's weeknight gaming tournaments that go till 1 a.m.
I feel like what we provide is having a space for people to interact with each other. You come out and you meet some friends. I feel like the interaction is like the greatest experience here.
So over here to our left, we actually have one of our main areas that people hang out in. As you can see, we generally fit about 6 to 7 people. And then all across the venue, we actually have 4 43-inch plasmas that we constantly stream the main game out here on the front. So if people want to sit in the back and watch it on the couch, they have the option to do that.
Okay, great whip punish. Tempest, slight life lead, goes for the command grab. Trades again with the meaty.
It's kind of like a sports commentary, I would say. You look at what's going on the screen and you're trying to analyze what both players are doing.
Challenges him air to air.
So in that case, you want to give feedback to both the players and the audience as to what's happening in the match.
Yeah, if he gets a solid V-trigger mix-up, this could be the game for him.
It goes on Twitch.tv. Anybody can view it when we go live. Even if we're not live, you can view the archives via Twitch.
But he went for the sonic boom there. Yeah, that was really risky.
When you see Amazon buy Twitch, a game streaming platform, for a little under $1 billion, that's not because it's some niche market anymore, If a mom is playing Angry Birds every day, or if she's playing, Trivia Crack or something, while she waits to pick up her kids, is she a gamer? I don't think she would classify herself as a gamer, but she's playing a game every day for at least 30 to 40 minutes, so I think the word gamer is kind of archaic.
But what about being an e-athlete playing an electronic sport?
I believe at some point we will recognize that some of these people that play video games, they are athletes, a mental athlete where they have such knowledge and such reactions that they're able to play this game at one of the highest levels that makes them better than everybody else.
So much of it comes down to studying literally frame data for this game. Because that character's move takes 3/60ths of a second, I should do option X instead of Y and Z. But yeah, I mean, the training that goes into something like this is just like as demanding as like a sport. Like obviously you're not going to have to go to the gym and condition your sprints and stuff like that, but the mental dexterity is there, the strategies are there, the preparation's there for sure.
And like athletes, they can get emotional when they play.
The word is salt, as it's called. A person gets salty, is the term. That's the slang for the fighting game community. Is like, oh, he just got really mad. Oh, he's salty. He's really salty.
Richard Klink says one of the challenges is learning to use the game stick.
This is a Mad Catz TE2 arcade stick, and it has the joystick, usually a square gate inside, so it moves 4 ways. And usually has 8 buttons, but people customize it to have only 6 buttons, like the older style arcades. To be good, you really have to have good reaction time, and always ready on the stick and the buttons to react or block or whatever you need to do.
Some of these players at LD Lounge are in training for San Diego State 5 that takes place on Saturday at San Diego State's Montezuma Hall. It will offer 6 tournaments, 10 hours of gaming, and more than $2,000 in prizes. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And San Diego 5 takes place tomorrow starting at 11 a.m. on the SDSU campus. The LD Lounge hosts gaming tournaments most weeknights from 6 to 1. And tonight's stories you can find online at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening and a great weekend. Good night.